Hello. This is not me gaming. This is me being serious because I deleted my video about the Nintendo crap, and I didn't mean to delete it. I deleted all the Nintendo video games because I didn't want to get targeted by Nintendo because they targeted Super Mario Logan. So this is my first of second part rant. Let's start with the fact that I don't like what Nintendo is doing. It seems now they're overly charging their consoles, going like $500 for our Switch 2, which was $100 more than the Switch 1. Which I don't get the physics in that because it doesn't make any sense considering the fact that it's just an upgraded Switch. So basically, you're gonna add $100 more to it. Talk about being greedy. I remember when Nintendo used to be like a humble company. They used to like be a card company, and then they decided to make video games, and then uh, it's a real shame because it's like amazing how much money that they're trying to squeeze out of people. It's like uh, pay, the economy is not as good as it used to be, like maybe years ago or something. Or at least maybe I'm wrong because when I used to watch TV shows, they used to be all manageable, but now it's like more expensive. Ever since you had like things like electricity and stuff. But I'm surprised at Nintendo because Nintendo normally looked like they were not bad guys. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to play both Nintendo and Sega, so I didn't really choose a favorite. Yeah, but the point is, I don't get how they can start from humble beginnings, but then start being biggering like Delorex. It's a real shame because I kind of looked up to Nintendo. I mean, I guess their merchandise, but at the same time, you should have like a limit to what you can do with your merchandise. Uh, like for one thing, I've heard that they've bricked people's Switch 2s because they were being hacked. And by bricking, that means they disallowed you from going to online, which is kind of like BS because it's like you had to pay money to go online. That's one of the things I don't like about the PlayStation, the Xbox, and Nintendo nowadays is the fact that you have to pay X amount of money just to be able to play with others. It should be free to be able to play with your friends, but no, the people are like, no, I'm sorry, you have to pay money. And I remember it started around the Wii, which that was the first time Nintendo went online. But then it was ironic because I bought the $5 for the Wii. Then all of a sudden, Nintendo drops a bombshell and says, well, we're going to make it free. So rather than give me back my $5, they're like, here, choose a game that's the same amount of money that you paid. So I end up getting a Kirby game on the Wii because I paid $5 for online privileges. Now it's ironic that we're on like the newer gens from the Wii, and now Nintendo is like, you got to pay for to play with your friends now. I'm sorry, but you have to do that. And it's like, and they're like, you know what? We love our old games so much that we'll let you buy a membership that lets you play all our old games. That's stupid. Why would I want to play? Why would I want to be charged a membership to play your old games when I could just buy a mini Nintendo or mini Super Nintendo and play my favorites on there? That sounds stupid. It's like you want me to pay money for a system, games, but you want me to pay money to go online and play with my friends. Yeah, something gets off on that one. And also, I'm getting the fact that apparently people are boycotting the Switch 2, which one of the reasons why is because of the high cost of how much the Switch 2 costs. Let alone the the fear of being bricked. Which I get that uh, it's your system, but I don't think it's very nice to brick someone because I know it's hacking is not like very good, but at the same time they bought it with their money. There go you're like ruining their system even though they paid money to have it. I mean, if it was your own system, I get it. You can brick your own system. Go ahead, Nintendo. But when you like brick someone's system because they like supposedly hacked it, then You're like a con artist. You let people buy your system and then you like take it away by bricking it. Although it still works, it just doesn't be able to go online. So it's like, why? That's bullying 101. And it's ironic because I hear the president's last name is Bowser. So it's like, isn't it ironic that the president ends up being a villain from Mario Brothers? Word to wise, name your children better. If they end up having a name that's lousy like Bowser, you gotta be careful. I mean, there was a Bowser and singer, but I'm just saying he wasn't a gamer though. Uh, but no, another problem I have with Nintendo is the fact that unlike the other two companies, Nintendo always has low amount of memory all the time. Ever since their debut of Nintendo, they always had such a low amount of memory. And then it's like the Switch was like what, 25 gigabytes, which is not even as good as 500. I mean, you can get like 2 terabytes on like a PlayStation or an Xbox, but so small amount from the Switch. I don't even think the Switch 2 has a lot of memory as well. I don't know. Feels like Nintendo's stuck in their own ways. It's like, come on, Nintendo, can you tell me why you're so stuck in your old ways that you just want to keep yourself so cheaply, and then you become expensive. So you're gonna pay uh $500 for a system that barely has any memory in it compared to PlayStation Xbox, just for a chance at beautiful graphics. I don't know. That's stupid. I just think that's actually kind of dumb. Apparently, it said people like Reggie was the one able to convince Nintendo to lower prices. So apparently, Nintendo was always greedy. Funny because they came off like the savior of the video game world, being like the fact that went bankrupt. So Nintendo bundled the Mario with Duck Hunt and had the power gun and controllers and the system, and so thought they were the hero. But they seem to prove the old saying: either you either die a hero or you live to be the villain. And what are the odds? Nintendo became the villain. I think Sega did a good job thumping them. They were good rivals. The reason why Sega went down was because, well, I'll explain that one later, but the point is Sega actually digged their own grave when they were trying to face against Nintendo. So, in the end, you can't say Nintendo kicked their butts. Sega kicked their own butts. um, but it's a shame that Nintendo is acting like every other greedy organization that doesn't care for anything but money, really, like Disney and Nickelodeon and even um, Warner Brothers at point. But we're not talking about those guys. The point is, Nintendo was a humble company that started off as cards like Five Diamonds, Jack of Clubs, whatever. And then they become a video game one that made things much more easier. And then all of a sudden you find out that they are just constantly now increasing the price of items. So now people are boycotting the Switch 2, which I'm not gonna lie. Is that gonna solve anything by boycotting it? I don't personally think that's gonna solve anything. I feel like by boycotting it, you're just doing it to yourself. You're not actually solving any problems. Nintendo could just look at your boycott and go, "Oh, this person boycotted us. Whatever should we do? Oh wait, they just don't want to play our games. That's not teaching us a lesson. We're still making lots of money from everyone else who are buying from us. What do we care about one or two or a group of people boycotting us? We don't care. We're Nintendo. They're just doing what Nintendo don't." Man, I remember when that was a slogan at one time when Sega was back in prime. It was like, Sega does what Nintendo don't. Now I say it when it's like, wait, just make it funny like that. But it's a real shame that Nintendo charged so much money for like a system that's not even it can phase against PlayStation and Sega. No, PlayStation and Microsoft because they both have even graphics. However, what Nintendo's drawback is they always have such low amount of bytes. I mean, I remember the lowest bytes where it's like around DOS, which was just bytes. Then came what? Kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. If you know all those, you probably are pretty much my age. Because when I was a kid, I had a DOS computer, which was different from the computer now. On DOS was much harder to deal with than this computer. DOS, you actually had to put a floppy inside, and you had to program the computer to play the floppy. C dot slash slash C, and then games, and then you had to like every time you had to put a disk in there, you had to program the computer to start the game. So it was a pain in the butt. Nowadays, all you do is just use a DOS box and just put your game in, and it automatically loads it. Woo! Mind blown! But I'm not into the DOS rant. That would be nice when I remember that. I'll explain about my history about, DOS computers later. Right now I'm just working on the Nintendo rant. Now, the thing is, I had respect for Nintendo because Nintendo, like I said, brought us back from the brink of game crash. A comedy crashing with the Atari. Because Atari had one problem. The Atari would let anyone make video games, whether it was like clean or dirty, and because they don't have something to stop them, they were making too many games. Plus, what didn't help was E.T. wasn't selling as well, so they had too many copies of E.T. Add that and anything else, and they basically dug their own grave by having too many games being made at once and not having any say-so of like which games should be made. That was until Nintendo came along and made the seal of approval. You had to have the seal of approval to have your game there, but even then that wasn't like not perfect. Some bad games went out of there even with the seal of approval. Can't name them all of them, but the point is some did actually break into the system even with the seal of approval. I don't know how they could get the seal of approval, but they did. However, Nintendo started off not so bad. I mean, a Nintendo system, and then they moved on to Super Nintendo, and then you had yourself Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, N64, Virtual Boy, which was one of the black sheeps of the family. The Nintendo 64, the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch 2, the Game Boy 3DS. You get the idea. They made like tons of systems. But I won't explain like things like Virtual Boy until like that's another rant I would like to get into someday. Now, I'm not big on doing rants. I've watched a lot of people do rants, but sometimes what gets me on my nerves, actually, I just want to explain my theory, my opinions. It's just my opinion, so don't take it to heart. It's just something I don't like or something I do like or something. Regardless, the point is, I had respect for Nintendo because when I was a kid, Nintendo was not so bad. They were innovative compared to Atari. Atari was one screen, whereas Nintendo made you had multiple screens, which was not bad. However, one of the things I didn't like about Nintendo was the fact that they had such a, should I say, small family. What I mean by small family, I don't mean like there's not enough groups in the company. I mean that they only had like things like Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Kirby, and then spin-offs like Donkey Kong for like Mario and stuff. But what's funny is the fact that when you think about it, Nintendo was more of a third-person party emulator. I know they don't like ROMs and emulation, but when you think about it, it's ironic that Nintendo was actually one of the first emulations before emulators came out. Because when you think about it, they had things like third-party games like Marvel, Batman, Power Rangers. So basically, both the Nintendo and Super Nintendo were just full of like third-party games. It's like, what are the odds? Everyone just had to. And if anyone heard about Nintendo, like they had to get their feet wet by getting their games onto their system. But and then it wasn't until Game Boy did they actually add things like Pokemon. So Nintendo always had such a small family compared to PlayStation and Xbox. If you know what third party is, third party games are basically games that could run on any system. They're given all the systems, so it's not just exclusive. Games like Mario Brothers are considered exclusive. Well, for the most part, Mario and Zelda were considered exclusive until Philips CDI was able to get the rights to have both Mario and Zelda make like Hotel Mario and Wanda Gamelon, but it's still considered exclusive to them. Just at one time, Philips had them too. Um, but when I used to love Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers was fun because it had like different stages, different power ups. But then I started thinking to myself, how many times have I rescued the princess? Too many times to count. That's when I'm going to realize I was starting to get more bored of it. Every time I started rescuing a princess, it wasn't until Luigi's Mansion that I'd be like, wow, this is different. I'm actually saving someone else. Mario? And then when Luigi's Mansion 3 came out, I found I was saving a princess along with Toads and Mario. I'm thinking like, I give up. Pokemon. I used to play Pokemon back when it first came out, which was black and white, which was red and blue, back when the superior one was actually in Japan, which was green. And then came Gold, Silver, Crystal, and Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Firestone, Leaf Green, Diamond, Pearl, Plantium. That was when I gave up on Pokemon, and then next thing you know, I missed out on Black and White 2, X and Y, Sun and Moon Ultra. It wasn't until Sword and Shield that I decided to get my Pokemon fix again and get back to it. And I think I had Sword and the DLC, which is Armor. But then I started getting bored again because one of the things that bored me about the Pokemon one thing was that they can add more stuff like trees and items but one of the things that got me bored was the fact that all I was doing was just collecting 8 badges and then taking on Elite Four for like all the games. That's the one thing I noticed that Nintendo had that drew me back is the fact that they always became repetitive. Both Mario and Pokemon were just becoming repetitive. I mean, at least with say Zelda, at least they weren't always rescuing a princess, and at least you weren't always in the same land. Whereas Pokemon, you're in different lands, but the point is, you don't see Zelda constantly doing the same thing like Pokemon did, was collecting badges and the Elite Four crap. That's why every time I used to play Pokemon games, I actually stopped after I got my badge because I was bored going after the Elite Four. Not that I have the videos anymore, I deleted them to make sure that Nintendo doesn't come after me because I don't want to be sued by these guys. These guys seem like they're sand bullies. After all, like I said, they went after Super Mario Logan because he had the dolls, and it said because he was doing perverted stuff. Well, not perverted. I'm bad. No, no. Uh, let's just say he was doing non-kid friendly stuff with the dolls, like marijuana. Or the point is that's what, and it wasn't for the fact that he was in Good Morning America did Nintendo even target him. But I just figure like, and then I hear that they also had sued someone, forced him to America, and then put him in jail, and then had to pay for the damages. And I'm thinking, dude, this guy, is this Nintendo or is this the Mafia? It's like, what am I gonna do? Should I do the Mafia voice? This is Nintendo. I am here to tell you that you've broken the rules, and as such, I'm gonna get you to go to jail. And when you get out of jail, you're gonna owe me money. And you'll be paying the money off for years and years. 'Cause I gotta tell you something. You don't mess with the Nintendo Mafia. The Mafia messes with you. It's like, what I mean? It's like, it kind of makes me think of, that fanfic video where I saw Sonic for Hire and Mario was actually a Mafia member. I couldn't believe it. But, getting off track, I apologize. The point is, I don't know what's going on in Nintendo's head. I don't know. And I don't like it either because it seems they're becoming so greedy that they are trying to be the villain of the video game world. At least Xbox and PlayStation have their good good sides to them. Let's put it that way. Yeah, they charge you to go online as well, but at least they put their games on Steam and they allow you to go on Twitch and YouTube. Whereas Nintendo doesn't like that. Nintendo doesn't want you to have YouTube and Twitch because they don't want you to record their video games online. They want to show their games themselves. And that's why they don't want anyone like Steam to have their games, because they don't want to, should I say, raise their, uh, how should I put it? They don't want to apparently to be evolved. They want to stay new. They want to stay old age Nintendo. If they were smart, they would be like Xbox and PlayStation, and Verizon their marketing plan to be able to get everyone from like not just their systems but PC and mobile. Because I believe if they actually swallowed their pride and put their games on Steam, they'll be able to get both PC and mobile people, and they'll get a lot more money than they do than just being on their own system. But no, they're like, you want to play our games, you got to be exclusive to us. If they find out that there's hacks, well, there have been cease and desist letters that have been sent out to certain hacks. They're like, no, you can't hack and make the game. I mean, you don't make money from it, that's good and all, but that's our game. You have no right to hack and make the game differently. We made the game, not you. Cease and desist right now. Because I don't like you, and I don't like you hacking our games. And yet, the sad thing is, when people hack the games, they're actually complimenting Nintendo in a way. Because they're taking the game that was okay, and they made the game even better. Adding stuff that would have been nice if they were there at the start. The sad thing is, if a hack game looks better than the original game, well, that's not good. Okay, it looks like this thing's a bit too high. Let me short this down a little bit. The point is, it's sad that it takes a hacker to make something even better when it should have been good from the start, but at the same time, what are you going to do? All in all, it's sad that Nintendo has become a bully. I get that the economy is not that good, that everyone has to script and save money and be able to survive and all that, but there's a difference between saving money and greed. Saving money is when you're trying to save money to make sure you can pay for your house, pay for food, yada yada yada. Greed is when you decide to take, let's say, something cost $10, and you decide to raise it to about $50. So now you want them to pay, instead of $10, you want them to pay $40 extra just because you want the money. It's ironic because it's like Nintendo is like taking inspiration from sculptors. I mean, sculptors take the original item and they make it even more expensive, but look at Nintendo. I don't know. I don't like that at all. I think that's sad. All in all, I'm gonna give a prediction because it's not that surprising of a prediction compared to anything else. I predict if Nintendo doesn't change their ways, more and more people are going to boycott their systems. And yeah, I've seen them on TV, by the way. I've seen the Switch 2 on TV. I'm not impressed by it. Just like with the Switch. I mean, the Switch was interesting, but the Switch 2 doesn't impress me. I stopped playing Nintendo games a while ago because I don't really care for them anymore. But I predict if Nintendo doesn't stop their ways and fix it within a couple years, I predict that more and more people are going to boycott it, that the point that Nintendo is going to lose some money because many people are going to grab their system. Except for the ones that are so loyal, they're like the Nintendo Nazis. That doesn't exist, but I just call them Nintendo Nazis because they're people that just worship Nintendo like they were God. They're the ones that only play Nintendo games. I played all kinds of video games, so I wasn't a Nazi. The point is, I predict that they're going to lose a lot of money, and they got to change their ways before they end up bankrupt. But it's up to Nintendo. They could keep being greedy and, have some more boycotts, or they could be smart and lower the price, make it affordable for people who can actually afford it, because the economy is not that good. So it's like $500 for a new system is just ridiculous. It's $100 more than the Switch 1, but the point is, it's kind of ridiculous to have it $500. That's a lot of money. Half of $1,000 for crying out loud. But that's fine, that's fine. If Nintendo wants to keep on this path, I just don't think it's going to be a good path. I wish them luck. From someone who used to play their games for years, I wish them luck, and I hope they will change their mind and fix their attitude before it's too late. Before they are either poor or they end up not getting a lot of money anymore. Oh well. Let's hope that Nintendo doesn't take the shovel and bury themselves underground. Not mean they're actually buried them. I just mean they're burying their life, basically. So that's my rant of Nintendo. If I hear more about Nintendo's greediness, I'll just say it. But the point is, I hope Nintendo can change their ways before it's too late. We'll have to see. I hope they do. And I'll be back for my second rant